Unless you are having sex 3 to 4 times a week consistently every week, you should be scheduling sex. That's my hard and fast rule. If you are having sex once a week, but you never know the day, but it's consistent, there's always one time a week, I think that's already not super healthy. Because there's going to be weeks where you're like, did we have sex? Did we not have sex? Not great, right? Because you want to know that you have that part of your relationship down. You have that licked, right? That is a part of your relationship that you can confidently say is healthy. And unless you're married to somebody who has a lot of mental, emotional, or physical trauma when it comes to sexuality, they should like sex. And you should like sex. And if everybody likes the damn thing, why aren't you having more of it? The answer is you're probably not scheduling it. That's really what it is. That's really what it comes down to. So let's talk about why you really need to start scheduling sex. What are the different reasons? What are the benefits to scheduling sex? And why you need to get over this idea that it's not romantic. In fact, I think scheduling sex is the most romantic thing you can do. The idea that something is a priority in your life, that your sexual life is a priority between you and your partner, and it's such a priority that you make time for it, that's romantic. What's not romantic is I'll get around to it, right? Or when we feel like it. That's not romantic. That's dismissive. That's not giving it the attention it deserves. And romance is about attention. Romance is about handling something with care and compassion. What better way than making sure you can schedule it and you make time for it? It prioritizes intimacy. And that's a big deal. In a marriage, especially if you have kids or very high stress jobs, not only does your partner not feel like a priority, but sometimes intimacy itself stops feeling like a priority, and you can feel like roommates. And that's a horrible feeling, right? Sometimes the relationship is so bad that being roommates feels like a step up. And sometimes, in fact, it is. But that's still not good enough. The thing I tell people all the time is, or let me take this back. The thing that I ask couples all the time when they're in their first session is, what kind of a relationship do you want? What do you want to see changed? What do you want to see, more of? What do you want to see less of? And very often you'll hear one of the partners, I would say 70% of the time it's the men, say, I just want peace. I just want quiet. I just want to not be yelled at. I just want, and I look at them and I let them speak for a little bit. And then I say, excuse me, that's a load of crap. And they're like, what? I said, nobody on earth ever says, I can't wait to get married so that I can be left alone. That's not why we get married. That's not why we get in relationships. If you're in a position where you're like, all I want is peace and quiet, really what you're saying to your partner when you say that, listen carefully. Essentially, you're saying, I want to be alone. I don't want to be with you. That's a horrible thing to say. And really what you want to say is, that's the hardest part of my relationship, is that we have a lot of conflict. I'm hoping that we can get past that so that I can ask for what I really secretly want, which is more sex, more hugs, more quality time, whatever it is. But when you don't prioritize intimacy, physical intimacy in your relationship, you might be that person. And you might become that person that says, I just don't want to fight. Guess what? The best way to not fight is have fun together. And the best way to have fun together for most people, you have great sex. So schedule it. Schedule it, because it's important. Now, it won't always be fantastic, right? But if you take 10 swings at the bat and you knock 2 out of the park, isn't that still pretty dang good, right? It also helps with how the relationship affects your life. Scheduling sex reduces stress and anxiety for most people. Now you might think, no, it would make me more anxious, because then I know I'd have to have sex on Wednesdays. And what if I'm in a bad mood? And what if we got in a fight? But let me tell you what usually happens. Usually, if you know that every Thursday night, let's just pick a night, right, at random, we're going to have sex. If you know that, and your partner knows that, Guess what day of the week everybody's on their best behavior? Guess what day of the week they start going, oof, I don't want to miss out on sex, so let me work on my apology skills. Let me see if I can buy somebody flowers. Let me see if I can cook somebody's favorite dinner. It happens. It happens. And sex, by its very nature, is a form of communication, right? Physical intimacy is a form of communication. But you also have to talk about it sometimes. Last week when we tried it, I got hurt, or like the lights were a little too bright, or the door wasn't locked and I got nervous. And so what does it do when you schedule sex? When you have sex regularly, it enhances communication. Because if you're not talking about anything else in the relationship, you're not talking about your emotional health, you're not talking about your in-laws, you're not talking about your work. If the only thing you're talking about is sex, that's still talking about something. I often hear people say, well, I heard this idea of having a sex challenge where we have sex every night for 3 weeks or 2 weeks, or some people do it. I've heard of people doing it for a year, which is like mind-blowing, right? And they ask if it's a good idea. And I say, look, the sex part of that challenge is actually the least important part, believe it or not. The part that's the most important is you're coming together every night. Now, if you decided to cook every night, I think you would get almost all of the benefit of having a sex challenge, right? You won't get all of it because there are endorphins, and listen, sex is hard to beat, right? But that's really the magic, is that the communication and the sense of priority that you build by making that some like a goal that you share to do it every night, that is the magic, not the actual sex. Right? Because if all you needed was sex and it wasn't about you two connecting or communicating, technically speaking, masturbation would do the same thing, but it doesn't. It's not about the physical release. It's about communicating. It's about reducing the amount of stress and anxiety through the communication. What's another one? It helps manage busy schedules. Now, you might be a newlywed listening to this going, what's the big deal? First of all, we have sex all the time. Second of all, I have a job. She has a job. We have plenty of time in the evenings, and the weekends are just nothing but sex fest. Then you have kids, or then you have to go on the road for your job. There's a lot of things that happen. And if you don't make time for sex, sex won't make time for you. And so as you grow in life and more liabilities, more responsibilities come up, if you don't have the pattern and the structure to already plan for sex, you will miss out. So it's better to start doing it earlier and actually having that as a skill that's already developed in your arsenal as a couple. And then the last thing I'll talk about is that the hardest part of a relationship, the hardest thing in a relationship is feeling alone. It's one thing to feel alone and actually be alone. It's one thing to feel lonely when you're actually lonely, right? If you are someone who lives in a 1-bedroom apartment and you go to work and you come home and you don't have a huge social circle and you watch a lot of TV or you're on social media and you're lonely and you came to me and I said, I'm lonely, I'd say, yeah, you are, because you're alone. Let's work on building a social circle for you. That would be my response. But if you're married and you feel lonely, it's because there's a tremendous amount of neglect. And you don't feel the ability to get past that neglect. But if you schedule sex, and the goal should usually, for most couples, the goal is to usually schedule it at least once a week, right? At a bare minimum. Now, sometimes that's all you're going to get is once a week. And by the way, that's healthy. Yeah. But if you're not doing it once a week, or I would say 3 times a month, right? Let's make the bare minimum a little even easier, right? 3 times a month. If you're not doing it that often and you're not scheduling it, something's broken and you will feel neglected, or your partner will feel neglected. Right? Maybe you are the low drive partner. Maybe you don't need sex once a week. Maybe you only need sex once a month to feel sexually satisfied. But your partner probably needs it more. if that's the case, right? Unless both of you have abnormally low sex drives, which does happen, but it's rare. Um, your partner will feel neglected, right, in that department of the relationship. And if that happens, if your partner starts feeling neglected, guess what's going to happen to you? They'll start getting grumpy. They'll start getting stressed out. They'll start feeling distant. And guess what? They are distant because they feel neglected and they feel like they can't rely on you to feel the kind of affection that they need. And so they go into their little cave and say, well, I have to rely on myself, and I'm not loved the way I want. And so I'm just going to live this life with this other person, but know that I'm alone. And that's a sad existence. It really is. So schedule sex, schedule it, and embrace it. Now, one other point I'll make is it might sound hard, right? Like, how do I know I'm going to be in the mood at 7 o'clock on a Wednesday night or Thursday night or whatever time you choose? And the truth is, you probably won't every time. Give yourselves 5 to 10 minutes to embrace each other's bodies. If you need dim lights, dim the lights. If you like, an oil diffuser to make the room smell a certain way, spend $20 on Amazon and get an oil diffuser. If you like a little music, set the mood however you want. If you like a little kink and you want to use some toys, some furry toys or leather toys, go for it. Right? But let the stimulation of your body lead the way. Don't let your head get in the way. And so you have to let your body embrace the responsive nature of sexuality that really exists in us pretty much till the day we die. It's not going to be spontaneous like it was when you were 16, and if the wind blew, you'd get in the mood. As you get older, as there's more stress in your life, as there's less time to relax, spontaneity starts to wane. And so you have to say, you know what, I'm going to show up. Maybe we'll start with a massage and we'll see where things go. And if it doesn't always end up in sex, that's okay too, but show up and try, make time for it, and let your bodies guide you, right? Embrace. If you know about yourself that you need soft touch, great. If you know you need a little bit of a rougher touch, fine. But let your body be reminded of how good it feels. And it might be awkward for those first few minutes, but I promise if you make it a routine, you will get comfortable and your body will get comfortable with it too. I hope this was helpful to you. My name is Dr. Jon Dabach, and I will see you next time.